You know, something changes after 65. Mornings, they hit different. It's no longer about rushing out the door, checking emails before coffee, or beating traffic. No, after 65, mornings become a kind of medicine. The sun creeps in slow, the house is quiet, and for the first time in decades, there's no need to hurry. I've learned, and so have many other seniors I've met across the US and Europe, that these simple morning shy, slow, intentional, peaceful, can heal more than any pill. They bring back clarity, calm the mind, even ease old pains. That's what we'll talk about today. And hey, if this kind of elderly wisdom speaks to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There's more life to live and more stories to tell. 1. Why mornings matter more after 65. 4 hidden benefits that doctors and elders agree on. There's something deeply therapeutic about the hours just after dawn, especially when you're no longer bound by the noise of daily deadlines. For seniors over 65, in the US and Europe, that morning silence is not just peaceful, it's healing. Researchers from the University of Exeter found that elderly individuals who maintain a calm, unrushed morning routine report lower cortisol levels, better digestion, and improved emotional balance. But beyond the science, it's the real stories. The quiet wisdom passed down through elderly reflection that show us why these simple mornings can be life-changing. Let's break down 4 hidden benefits of slow mornings after 65, each one revealed through the real lives of seniors who've made peace their priority. First, regulated blood pressure and heart health. One of the most surprising findings in senior health studies over the last decade is how stress in the first hour of waking can affect blood pressure throughout the day. According to a study published in Hypertension Research, elderly adults who wake up slowly and spend 20-30 minutes sitting quietly before any activity see more systolic blood pressure readings than those who jump into the day immediately. Take the story of Walter Jennings, a 72-year-old retired bus driver from Ohio. For most of his working life, Walter's alarm rang at 4:30 a.m. He'd bolt out of bed, skip breakfast, and be behind the wheel by sunrise. After retirement, I kept waking up at 4:30 like a machine, he recalls. It took a minor stroke to make me slow down. Now Walter spends the first 45 minutes of his day doing a simple breathing ritual, 10 deep breaths, followed by coffee on his porch with no phone, no TV. My heart doesn't race anymore. I used to feel tired at 10 a.m. Now I have energy until dinner. Doctors believe this type of slow start allows the nervous system to switch gradually from a resting state, reducing cardiovascular strain. It's elderly wisdom rooted not just in data, but in lived experience. Stronger digestion and gut health. What you do in the first hour after waking sets the tone for how your body processes food for the rest of the day. In elderly people, digestion naturally slows due to lower stomach acid and enzyme production. Rushing into the day, skipping hydration, or eating while stressed makes it worse. Maria Lopez, an 81-year-old widow from Seville, Spain, discovered this the hard way. I used to eat toast standing up in the kitchen while calling my daughter. Then I'd feel bloated all morning. After attending a senior health workshop organized by her local community clinic, Maria started a new ritual: warm lemon water, gentle stretches, and eating breakfast by the window. No distractions. After 3 months, her acid reflux episodes dropped by half. I even started enjoying my oatmeal, she laughs. Simple changes, big results. The gut, like the heart, responds best to calm. Third, mental clarity and emotional resilience. One of the lesser-known powers of quiet mornings is their effect on mental clarity. Seniors, especially those living alone, are vulnerable to emotional decline, anxiety, and forgetfulness. A 2021 report from the Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry showed that elderly individuals who practiced morning mindfulness, that is, 15-20 minutes of reflection, prayer, or journaling, reported reduced feelings of isolation and improved memory recall compared to those with chaotic mornings. Henry and Grace Thompson, married 52 years and living in Vermont, have changed their morning into a kind of sacred ceremony. We light a candle, sit across from each other, and share one thing we're grateful for. Henry says, sometimes it's just the smell of the coffee. Sometimes it's that we're both still here. Grace adds, after my brother passed, those quiet mornings were what held me together. I cried a lot, but I also healed. This isn't just romantic, it's neurological. Positive emotional states in the morning prime the brain for better decision-making and memory throughout the day. It's a life lesson from the elderly that we do well to learn early. Fourth, motivation and purpose through routine. After 65, many people struggle with a sense of lost purpose. Careers are over, kids are grown, days can feel shapeless. But a well-designed morning ritual, no matter how simple, can reignite motivation and bring back a sense of intention. Dr. Elaine Parker, a geriatric psychologist in Toronto, says, "Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be making tea, watering plants, or walking to the corner mail bus. The key is structure." One of her patients, Bernard King, 68, retired from his job at a tech company in Atlanta. After 6 months of sleeping in and watching television, he slipped into what he described as a soft depression. It wasn't until he started creating a simple morning routine, journaling, feeding the birds, stretching for 10 minutes, that he felt like himself again. "I didn't need to change the world," Bernard shares. "I just needed to greet the day with something meaningful." These 4 benefits, healthier hearts, calmer guts, clearer minds, and a deeper sense of purpose, are not random. They're connected through one simple thread: the intentionality of the morning. Elderly reflections from around the world remind us that healing doesn't always come from pills or procedures. Sometimes it begins with how you start your day. When I turned 66, I remember thinking to myself, now what? For the first time in years, there was no rush, no meetings, no commute, no pressure to beat the clock. At first, that felt like freedom, but over time, that freedom turned into something else. Days started to blur together. I'd wake at odd hours, sometimes skip breakfast, sometimes not even open the curtains, and I began to feel tired, restless, like my purpose had gotten lost in the quiet. But something happened when I started talking to other seniors. Old friends from Chicago, a cousin in Canada, even strangers on trains in the Netherlands. I noticed something they all shared. The ones who were thriving, not just surviving, all had one thing in common. They had a morning ritual. Not a checklist, just small, intentional habits. Little acts of kindness toward themselves that they repeated each morning. And those habits, they were healing, not in a magical way, but in a slow, steady, deeply human way. Let me share 6 of the most powerful ones I've come across. Each one with a real story from a real person, just like you and me. First, waking up at the same time every single day. Now I know, that doesn't sound revolutionary, but after 65, our internal body clocks become more sensitive to disruption. A study from the University of Pittsburgh found that older adults who woke up at a consistent time, even on weekends, had better sleep quality, less daytime fatigue, and more emotional stability. That makes sense. When your body knows what to expect, it doesn't have to fight itself. Elaine Harper, a 69-year-old retired librarian from Maine, shared this with me. "I used to let my sleep schedule drift. Some nights I'd be up past midnight watching those old British murder mysteries. Other times I'd pass out before 9. Then I'd wake up groggy, cranky, and confused." Her doctor suggested she try setting her alarm for 6:45 every day, no matter what. And though she grumbled at first, she stuck with it. After a few weeks, she said something shifted. "I stopped feeling like I was chasing the day. I started meeting it. My energy came back. I could read a whole chapter without dozing off. And my memory, it stopped playing tricks on me." That's the power of rhythm. When you gift your body consistency, it rewards you with clarity. Second habit, drinking a full glass of water right after waking. Now I'll admit, I was a coffee juice kind of guy for decades. I used to walk into the kitchen half asleep, pour a mug, and sip it while still rubbing my eyes. But what I didn't know is that after a full night's sleep, the body is low on fluids, especially in older age, when our thirst signals weaken. Dehydration in the morning can cause lightheadedness, fatigue, and even memory lapses. Bernard King, 71, from Eugene, Oregon, told me this. "I started getting these strange headaches. Not migraines, just a dull throb in the back of my head. My daughter, she's a nurse, asked me one question. 'Dad, how much water are you drinking when you wake up?' The answer, none, 0, only coffee. So he began each day with 1 glass of room temperature water. That was it. And a week later, the headaches were gone. It was like someone turned the lights back on," Bernard said. "Now I actually enjoy the quiet. In the morning before the coffee buzz kicks in. It's not a cure-all, but it's a gentle way to tell your body, I care." The third habit is movement. Gentle, simple movement within the first half hour of waking. I'm not talking about jogging or hitting the gym. I mean shoulder rolls, neck circles, maybe a little walk to the end of the block. As we age, our muscles and joints need more help getting going. Harvard Medical School recommends light mobility exercises in the morning to support circulation and reduce the risk of falls. Lucille Menard, a 76-year-old artist from Montreal, told me something that stuck with me. I used to groan like an old chair just getting out of bed. My knees cracked, my back resisted. Then I started a morning stretch routine. Nothing fancy, just 10 minutes of rolling, breathing, and stretching. I play classical music while I do it. After a month, she said her body began cooperating. I moved like a younger woman now. Not fast, but fluid. Her physical therapist confirmed she had greater range of motion and better balance. And more than that, she said, it's a ritual of respect. I tell my body, thank you for staying with me. That kind of relationship with your own body, that's rare, that's beautiful. Next comes breakfast. Not just toast or coffee. I'm talking about a proper, nourishing breakfast. Something with protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Older adults are prone to sarcopenia, which is the gradual loss of muscle. We need that fuel early in the day. Joseph Miller, 74, a retired postman in Cincinnati, was skipping breakfast for years. He'd get by on caffeine and maybe a cookie. I figured I didn't need much anymore, he told me, but I was tired all the time. Weak, I'd feel like I'd been up for 12 hours by noon. His doctor referred him to a community nutritionist, and together they built a simple breakfast routine. Oatmeal with chia seeds and banana, 2 scrambled eggs, and herbal tea. 2 weeks in, he said he started feeling alive again. I could walk to the store without stopping. My mind stopped fogging up. I even got back into woodworking. Nutrition is often overlooked in elderly reflections, but it shouldn't be. It's not about eating a lot, it's about eating right. 5th, exposure to natural morning light. This one's personal for me. I used to keep the blinds shut till mid-morning, thought it kept the house cool, but my moods were all over the place. Then I read a paper from the University of Basel that showed seniors exposed to natural light between 7 and 10 a.m. had improved sleep patterns, reduced anxiety, and even better appetite. So I tried it, and it changed me. Also met Lars Peterson, 78, from Copenhagen, who shared his own experience. After his wife passed away, he fell into a heavy fog. I felt like a ghost, he said. Then one morning I just stepped outside. It was cold. The sun was barely up, but I stood there, 10 minutes. And I did it the next day, and the next. He said the light began to feel like something sacred, like the world was saying, you're still here. Today he walks the garden with his dog every morning, no matter the weather. It's not exercise, it's connection. Morning light does something to the soul. It wakes up more than just your eyes. And finally, the 6th habit, writing down one thing you're grateful for. Now I know that sounds like something out of a self-help book, but let me tell you, it works. Multiple studies, including one from UC Davis, have found that a simple gratitude practice can lower inflammation, reduce depressive symptoms, and increase overall life satisfaction, especially in older adults. Doris Chan, 70, from Vancouver, does this every morning after her tea. She keeps a small red notebook on her kitchen table. Each morning she writes one sentence. Just one. Grateful for my gardenia blooming. Grateful for a phone call from Tom. Grateful I didn't feel pain when I walked today. She told me it's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about noticing what's still good, what's still here. And on the days when everything feels heavy, she flips back through old pages. It's like hearing my own voice tell me to keep going, she said. There's something powerful about your own handwriting saying, today matters. Ellen, a 78-year-old widow from Manchester, never planned to build a morning ritual. I wasn't that type, she told me, laughing softly. I raised 5 children, worked as a school secretary. Mornings were always chaos. But after her husband passed and her last child moved away, she found herself waking to silence. Not peaceful silence, but hollow. She'd sit on the edge of her bed, unsure of what came next. I didn't even want to make breakfast, she said. There was no one to eat it with. One morning, she cracked open the window. A soft breeze floated in, and for some reason, she just sat there. I think I listened to the birds for 20 minutes. That became her new beginning. Every morning, she'd open the window. Then she added a cup of chamomile tea. Then she began jotting down one memory each day, something her husband said, something her kids did when they were small. Before I knew it, she smiled. I had something to look forward to again. Helen's mornings became her anchor. Not perfect, not planned, just present. She didn't overhaul her life. She added one moment of intention at a time. Her story is a gentle reminder to all of us. Start small. Healing doesn't need grand gestures. It just needs a beginning. Then there's Michael, an 81-year-old former runner from Eugene, Oregon. Used to do marathons, he said proudly, though his tone dimmed quickly. 2 hip surgeries later, and I was stuck in this chair. watching the sun rise through the same damn window. For months, he said mornings felt like proof of what he'd lost. I hated them. But then his physical therapist, a woman in her 30s named Kristen, suggested something unusual. She said, "What if your body isn't done? What if it just needs a new way to move?" At first he resisted. Then he tried a few seated stretches, neck circles, ankle rolls, wall presses. It was humiliating at first, he admitted. But one morning I realized my back didn't ache. That hadn't happened in years. He now spends the first 20 minutes of each day moving, not running but flowing. He turns on soft jazz, does his stretches, sips coffee, and watches the sky turn pink. "It's not the body I had," he said, "but it's still mine, and it's still working." Michael taught me something crucial. Morning routines must adapt to us. They're not a performance, they're a promise to show up even when things feel broken. In Montana, Diane, 74, found her peace in silence. Not just the absence of silence, but the kind of silence that invites memory. After Jerry died, she said, "The silence was brutal. It was like a scream I couldn't escape." For months, she filled it with noise. Television in every room, the radio in the kitchen, podcasts playing on loop. "It helped me pretend I wasn't alone," she confessed. But one morning, her battery died. The house was still. She sat at the table, alone with her coffee. "And I cried for an hour," she said. "Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt him with me again." That moment changed her. She began turning everything off in the mornings. No screens, no calls, just her, a journal, and the window. She began collecting quotes that made her feel less alone. Her favorite, she said, was this: "Peace begins with a single breath." She writes it down every day. Diane didn't find healing in distraction, she found it in presence. She reminds us that silence doesn't have to be a threat. Sometimes it's the very thing we've been running from, and the thing that saves us. And then there's Luca, 69, from Bologna, Italy, a man whose story still lingers in my chest. For most of his life, Luca was a baker. Woke up at 3:30 every morning, he said, kneaded dough before most people had dreams. After retiring, the silence of his mornings hit hard. "My hands were restless," he said. "They needed to make something." So he started baking again. At first just once a week, then more often. "I didn't need the bread," he said, "but my soul did." One morning he wrapped up a loaf and left it on his neighbor's doorstep. A widow he knew had trouble walking. The next day I found a note that said, "Grazie. I hadn't had fresh bread in months." That note became his purpose. Now twice a week Luca wakes up early. Not for profit, but for people. He bakes 6 loaves, wraps them with care, and delivers them quietly before sunrise. "It's a mission," he told me. "I'm still feeding people, just differently now." Luca's story is a powerful reminder. Morning routines don't have to be inward. They can be acts of service, of connection, of returning to what once gave us meaning. As I listened to these stories, from Helen's quiet window to Luca's warm bread, a single thread emerged. None of them were trying to be impressive. They weren't chasing trends or perfection. They were just listening to what their bodies needed, to what their spirits missed. They weren't fixing themselves. They were befriending themselves. And in doing so, their mornings became sacred. And isn't that what elderly reflections are all about? Not flashy breakthroughs or miracle cures, but small human truths that echo louder with age. So if you're 65, 70, 80, or even older, and your mornings feel heavy or pointless or hard, know this: you are not broken. You are in a season of recreation, and you have every right to shape your morning into something that soothes, centers, and strengthens you. Whether it's a candle lit before dawn, a call to an old friend, a walk around the block, or simply sitting in stillness, there is healing there. Not because someone told you so, but because your life deserves that kind of beginning. Every single day, and if no one's told you this lately, you are doing beautifully. There's no one right way to be a senior, but there is a rhythm waiting to meet you each morning. Less rush, more life. That's the truth. So now you know, healing doesn't always come in a pill or a doctor's chart. Sometimes it starts with a moment, a glass of water, a sunbeam on your face, a pause before the day begins. These stories we've shared, from Helen in England to Luca in Italy, are more than just routines. They're reminders that life after 65 isn't about slowing down into silence. It's about rising into a new rhythm, one that honors your body, your time, and your spirit. If you're over 65 and feeling lost, tired, or just unsure of where your mornings are headed, start simple. One habit, one day at a time. The rest will come. Here at Elderly Reflections, we believe in the quiet strength of seniors. We believe that every morning is a chance to begin again. If this video touched something in you, give it a like, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more life lessons from the elderly, quotes, and gentle senior motivation. And before you go, where are you watching from? Leave a comment below. We'd love to know where your mornings began.